We need to talk. 4 words that can destroy your life. My father said them while standing in our childhood living room, hands clasped behind his back like he was about to deliver a corporate presentation. My mother sat in her favorite armchair, the one with the faded floral pattern, looking smaller than I'd ever seen her. My sister Lucia perched on the couch, scrolling through her phone with that bored expression she'd perfected since high school. My name is Sierra, and I should have run the moment I walked through that door. Sit down, honey, Mom said, her voice carrying that tremor that had gotten worse over the past few months. The doctors called it early onset Parkinson's, but we all knew it was more than that. The tremor in her hands, the way she sometimes forgot words mid-sentence, the exhaustion that seemed to seep from her bones. I remained standing. What's going on? Dad cleared his throat. Your mother's condition is progressing faster than we anticipated. The neurologist says I need full-time care, Mom added quietly. Someone who can be here around the clock. The room went silent except for the soft clicking of Lucia's manicured nails against her phone screen. She hadn't looked up once. We've discussed this as a family, Dad continued, and we think it would be best if you took a leave of absence from work to care for your mother. I blinked. A leave of absence? Well, more like quitting, he said, avoiding my eyes. This is going to be long-term, Sierra. Your mother needs consistency. What about home health aides, professional caregivers, insurance covers? Those people don't love her like family does. Dad's voice took on that patronizing tone I remembered from childhood lectures. Besides, you're so good at taking care of people. Remember how you used to bandage Lucia's scraped knees? I looked at Lucia, who was now examining her split ends with intense concentration. What about Lucia? She could help. That got her attention. She finally looked up, her perfectly contoured face scrunched in disgust. I can't handle medical stuff, Sierra. You know blood makes me faint. And the smell of those medications. She shuddered dramatically. Plus, Lucia's art career is really taking off, Mom said with forced brightness. She can't abandon her dreams now. Her art career? I couldn't keep the disbelief out of my voice. Lucia sold maybe 3 paintings a year on Etsy and spent most of her time creating content for her Instagram followers. I'm having a gallery showing next month, Lucia said, finally putting her phone down. This could be my big break. Where are you having this showing? It's a group show at this really exclusive space downtown. Translation. She'd rented wall space at a coffee shop. The point is, Dad interrupted, Lucia has commitments. You, on the other hand, have that flexible marketing job. Surely they'd understand family comes first. Flexible. Right. I'd worked my ass off for 5 years to get promoted to senior marketing manager at a tech startup. The job I loved, the career I'd built from nothing, the financial independence I'd fought for, all of it was apparently flexible. I can't just quit my job, I said. I have a mortgage, car payments, student loans. About that, Dad said, exchanging a look with Mom. We think it would be easier if you moved back home. Lucia could take over your apartment lease. She's been looking for a place closer to the arts district anyway. The room tilted. You want me to give Lucia my apartment? It makes sense, Mom said quickly. You'll be here full time anyway, and Lucia needs the space for her studio. My apartment has 1 bedroom. She'll make it work, Dad said with a wave of his hand. Artists are resourceful. I looked around the room, at my parents, who were nodding like this was the most reasonable plan in the world, at Lucia, who had gone back to her phone but was smiling now. A small, satisfied smile that made my stomach turn. What if I say no? The question hung in the air like smoke. Dad's face hardened. Then your mother will have to go into a facility, he said. Is that what you want? Your mother who raised you, who sacrificed everything for this family, warehoused with strangers? Mom's eyes filled with tears. I don't want to be a burden, sweetheart, but I'm scared. The thought of being cared for by people who don't know me, who don't love me. Her voice broke and something inside my chest cracked along with it. Of course I'll take care of you, Mom, I heard myself saying. Of course I will. Dad smiled. I knew we could count on you, Sierra. You've always been the responsible one. Lucia finally looked up from her phone. This is going to be so great. I can finally have people over without worrying about thin walls. And that kitchen of yours gets amazing natural light for photos. As my family continued planning my life around me, I caught Mom's eye. For just a moment, something flickered across her face, an expression I couldn't quite read, almost like she was trying to tell me something. But then Dad started talking about logistics, and the moment passed. I should have paid more attention to that look. 3 weeks later, I was living in my childhood bedroom, surrounded by faded boy band posters and the lingering scent of teenage angst. My alarm went off at 5:30 a.m., not for a morning jog or coffee with friends, but to help Mom with her morning routine. Sierra, I need help with my buttons, Mom called from her room. I stumbled down the hallway, still in my pajamas. Mom sat on the edge of her bed, staring at her cardigan like it had personally offended her. Her hands shook as she tried to grasp the small pearl buttons. Here, let me. I knelt in front of her, working the buttons through the holes. Her fingers felt so fragile under mine. I used to dress you like this when you were little, she said softly. Funny how things come full circle. Yeah, hilarious. She caught my tone. I'm sorry, sweetheart. I know this isn't the life you planned. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed with a text from my former boss. The Henderson account is asking for you specifically. Sure you can't come back part-time? I showed Mom the message. Maybe I could work remotely a few hours a day, just to keep my foot in the door? Oh, honey, I don't think that's a good idea. What if I fall while you're on a call? What if I have one of my episodes? The episodes. That's what we called it when Mom would suddenly freeze mid-sentence, her eyes going blank for 30 seconds to a minute. The doctor said it was normal progression, but it terrified me every time. You're right, I said, deleting the text. Work can wait. After breakfast, I helped Mom with her physical therapy exercises while she watched her morning shows. The routine was mind-numbing. Lift the arm, rotate the wrist, flex the fingers, repeat. My phone buzzed with an Instagram notification. Lucia had posted a photo of herself in my kitchen, making some elaborate smoothie bowl. The caption read, "New space, new vibes. So grateful for this creative sanctuary." Artist life? Blessed, Brock, or new beginnings. The comments were nauseating. So jealous of your amazing apartment. Living your best to life. Goals? What's that face for? Mom asked, pausing mid-arm lift. Nothing. Just Lucia being Lucia. Show me. I reluctantly held up my phone. Mom squinted at the screen, then made a small sound of disapproval. She's using your good dishes, Mom observed. She's using my everything. I remember when you bought those dishes. You were so proud, said they made you feel like a real adult. Yeah, well, apparently real adults give up their apartments to support their sister's art career. Mom was quiet for a long moment. You know, when you girls were little, Lucia used to take your toys and claim they were hers. You'd come crying to me, and I'd make her give them back. This is a little different than stolen Barbies, Mom. Is it? Before I could ask what she meant, Dad walked in with grocery bags. How are my girls doing? He asked with a forced cheer. Fine, I said, though I was thinking maybe we could hire someone to help a few hours a week, just so I could. Sierra, we've been over this. Your mother needs consistency. Besides, do you know how expensive caregivers are? We're already stretched thin with her medical bills. Stretched thin? Right. That's why Dad had bought a new car last month and why they just booked a cruise for next spring. After everything settles down, as he put it. I could get a part-time job in the evenings, I suggested. Something remote. When would you sleep? You're already exhausted. He wasn't wrong. I was exhausted. Bone-deep, soul-crushing exhausted in a way I never experienced before. My phone rang. Owen. my best friend from college. I should take this, I said, stepping into the hallway. Please tell me you're calling to say you've come to your senses, Owen said without preamble. Hello to you too. Sierra, I'm serious. I looked up your mom's condition online. There are resources, support groups, professional services. You don't have to sacrifice your entire life. She's my mother, Owen. And you're her daughter, not her indentured servant. What happens to your career, your savings, your future? I glanced back at the living room, where Mom was struggling to reach the TV remote. I have to go. Sierra, wait. I hung up and went back to help Mom. That evening, after Dad had retreated to his home office and Mom was napping, I sat at the kitchen table with my laptop, scrolling through job listings. Maybe something part-time, something I could do from home. What you doing? Mom appeared in the doorway, moving slowly with her walker. Just looking at some opportunities, nothing serious. She made her way over and sat across from me. You know, I've been thinking about a lot of things lately, about choices I made, things I should have done differently. Mom, let me finish. Her voice was stronger than it had been all day. I see how hard this is for you, how much you've given up. I chose this. Did you? Or were you backed into a corner? I closed the laptop. What's done is done. Mom reached across the table and took my hand. Her grip was surprisingly firm. Sometimes, she said quietly, the people who love us most are the ones who can hurt us the deepest. But sometimes, they're also the ones who can make things right. What do you mean? She squeezed my hand. Just remember that I love you, Sierra. More than you know. And I see everything. 2 months into my new life as a full-time caregiver, I discovered the first lie. I was helping Mom organize her medication when I found a stack of papers wedged behind her jewelry box. Property transfer documents. My apartment. My name crossed out. Lucia's name written in. Mom, what is this? She looked up from her pill organizer, and for a moment her eyes were completely clear, sharp, like the woman who used to run the PTA with military precision. Sit down, Sierra. I sat on her bed, the papers trembling in my hands. When did this happen? 3 weeks ago. Your father said it was just a formality to make things easier while you're here. Easier for who? That's what I've been wondering. Mom set down her pills and really looked at me. Tell me something. When was the last time your father asked how you're doing? Not how I'm doing, or how the caregiving is going. How you're doing. I opened my mouth, then closed it. I couldn't remember. And Lucia. When was the last time she visited? Called? Even texted to check on her dying mother? You're not dying. Sierra. Mom's voice was gentle but firm. We both know I am. The question is what happens to you when I'm gone. That night, after Dad had gone to bed, Mom asked me to help her with something in the basement. We rarely went down there. It was Dad's domain, full of old furniture and boxes of tax documents. What are we looking for? I asked, flicking on the overhead light. My hope chest, the blue one in the corner. I found it buried under a stack of Christmas decorations. Inside were photo albums, baby clothes, and a manila envelope marked important papers. I've been thinking about what you said earlier, Mom said, settling into an old chair. About the property transfer, about how none of this feels right. She opened the envelope and pulled out documents I'd never seen before. Bank statements, investment records, insurance policies. Your father thinks I don't pay attention anymore, that the medication makes me fuzzy. She smiled, and it wasn't entirely pleasant. But I see everything. I always have. Mom, what are you showing me? Our financial situation isn't what your father claims. We're not stretched thin. In fact, we're quite comfortable. She spread the papers across an old card table. This is our savings account. This is my inheritance from your grandmother. This is the life insurance policy your father doesn't know I increased last year. The numbers made my head spin. Why are you showing me this? Because I want you to understand something. You're not here because we can't afford professional care. You're here because it's convenient. Free. My stomach dropped. Mom, let me finish. Tomorrow, I'm calling Reagan. She's been our family lawyer for 20 years. And more importantly, she's my friend. I want to review some things. What kind of things? Mom's eyes met mine. The kind that ensure my daughter isn't left with nothing after sacrificing everything. The next afternoon, Reagan arrived while Dad was at work. She was a sharp woman in her 50s, with silver hair and the kind of presence that commanded respect. "Claire, you look well," she said, embracing Mom carefully. "I look like hell, but thank you for lying." Mom gestured to the living room. "Reagan, you remember Sierra?" "Of course. How are you holding up, dear?" "I'm fine," I said automatically. Reagan raised an eyebrow. "That's what my daughter said when she was working 3 jobs to pay for law school. Fine usually means anything but." Mom patted the couch beside her. "Reagan, I need to discuss some changes to my will and estate planning." "Of course. What did you have in mind?" "I want to ensure Sierra is protected. She's given up her career, her apartment, her independence to care for me. I want to make sure that sacrifice is recognized." Reagan pulled out a legal pad. "What specifically are you thinking?" "I want to establish a trust, something that can't be contested or interfered with." "Mom, you don't need to—" "Yes, I do." Mom's voice was stronger than I'd heard it in months. "Reagan, I also want to discuss the property transfer that happened without my knowledge. My husband moved Sierra's apartment into Lucia's name." Reagan's pen stopped moving. "Without your consent? Without my knowledge? I was listed as a co-signer on Sierra's original lease agreement, but I never signed any transfer documents. That's problematic, potentially fraudulent, depending on how it was executed." I felt sick. "I signed papers. Dad said they were just updating the lease terms." "What exactly did you sign?" Reagan asked. "I don't know. I was exhausted, Mom was having a bad day, and Dad said it was just paperwork. I trusted him." Reagan and Mom exchanged a look. "We need to see those documents," Reagan said. "All of them." That evening, I was helping Mom with dinner when my phone buzzed. A video call from Lucia. "Answer it," Mom said. "Put it on speaker." Lucia's face filled the screen. She was in my living room, my former living room, with someone I didn't recognize. "Sierra, how's the nursemaid thing going?" "It's going fine, Lucia. How's the apartment?" "Oh my God, it's amazing. Taylor, come say hi to my sister." A guy with perfectly styled hair and an expensive watch appeared on screen. "Hey, Sierra. Lucia's told me so much about you." "All good things, I hope." Lucia laughed. "I was just telling Taylor how you're like the family martyr, always sacrificing yourself for everyone else." "Lucia, no, it's sweet. Really. Not everyone would give up their whole life to play nurse. But that's just who you are, right? The responsible one who cleans up everyone else's messes." Taylor nodded along. "That's really noble of you." "Thanks," I said flatly. "Oh, and Sierra, I'm having a little housewarming party next weekend. Nothing crazy, just some friends from the art scene. I know you can't come because of Mom, but I'll post lots of pictures." After she hung up, Mom and I sat in silence. "She's going to throw a party in my apartment," I said finally. "Yes, she is. With my dishes, my furniture, my security deposit. Yes." Mom reached over and squeezed my hand. "Reagan is coming back tomorrow. We're going to fix this, Sierra. All of it." "How?" Mom's smile was sharp as a blade. "Trust me." Mom died on a Tuesday morning in March, while I was making her breakfast. I heard the crash first, her coffee mug hitting the floor. When I ran to the living room, she was slumped in her chair, eyes closed, looking smaller than ever. "Mom, Mom." The paramedics were kind, but efficient. "I'm sorry," the older one said, after 20 minutes of trying. "She's gone." I called Dad first, then Lucia. Dad cried, genuine tears that surprised me. Lucia screamed, then immediately started planning. We need to call the funeral home, she said, already on her laptop. And the florist. Oh God, what am I going to wear? Do you think black is too cliché? The next 3 days blurred together. Dad handled the arrangements while I sat in Mom's room, surrounded by her things. Lucia arrived the day before the funeral with 2 suitcases and Taylor in tow. I couldn't bear to be alone right now, she announced, setting up camp in my old bedroom. Taylor's going to stay too, for emotional support. There's not enough room. We'll make it work. This is about family, Sierra. The funeral was everything Mom would have hated. Lucia wore a designer black dress, new, judging by the tags I saw her cutting off, and sobbed dramatically during the service. She'd prepared a speech about my beloved mother and the lessons she taught me about following your dreams. I sat in the front row, wearing Mom's favorite cardigan, and said nothing. At the reception, I overheard Lucia talking to her art friends. It's been so hard, she was saying, dabbing her eyes with a tissue, but I know Mom would want me to keep creating. She always said my art was my gift to the world. You're so brave, one of them replied. How are you holding up? I'm trying to stay strong for Sierra. She's taking it really hard. I think she feels guilty for not doing enough. I walked away before I could say something I'd regret. Later, while people were still mingling, Dad pulled me aside. We need to talk about practical matters, he said quietly. The house, your mother's things, the estate. Can't this wait? I'm afraid not. There are time-sensitive issues. He led me to his office, where Reagan was waiting with a stack of papers. Sierra, I'm so sorry for your loss, Reagan said, standing to hug me. Thank you. What's all this? Dad cleared his throat. Your mother's will, insurance policies, that sort of thing. We need to get everything sorted. Reagan spread the documents across Dad's desk. Your mother left very specific instructions about her estate. What kind of instructions? Well, the house goes to your father, of course. Most of her personal effects are to be divided between you and Lucia. Most? Reagan glanced at Dad, then back at me. There are some complications. Your mother had some debts we weren't aware of. Medical bills, mostly. What kind of debts? Dad jumped in. Nothing too serious, but it does affect the estate. We might need to sell some assets to cover everything. What assets? Well, your apartment, for one. I stared at him. My apartment that's now in Lucia's name? Technically, it's still part of the estate until probate is complete, Reagan said carefully. But yes, it may need to be sold to satisfy the debts. How much debt are we talking about? Dad and Reagan exchanged another look. Substantial, Dad said finally. Your mother was private about her finances toward the end. We're still sorting through everything. That evening, after the last guest had left, I was cleaning up when I found Lucia and Taylor in the kitchen, whispering over a bottle of wine. Finally over, Lucia was saying. God, I thought she'd never die. Lucia! I dropped the stack of plates I was carrying. She spun around, wine sloshing. Sierra! I didn't see you there. What did you just say? Nothing. We were just talking about how hard this has been. Taylor stood up, swaying slightly. She didn't mean anything by it. We're all grieving differently. No, I want to hear what she said. Lucia's face flushed. Fine. I said I'm glad it's over. There. Are you happy? I'm glad Mom isn't suffering anymore, and I'm glad you can finally get your life back. My life back? Yeah, your life. You know, the one where you don't have to play nursemaid anymore. I wasn't playing anything, Lucia. I was taking care of our mother. And now she's gone, and we can all move on. Lucia poured herself more wine. Speaking of which, Dad and I were talking. You should probably start looking for a new place to live. What? Well, you can't stay here forever. Dad needs his space to grieve, and honestly, it's kind of weird having you around now that Mom's gone. Taylor nodded along. Maybe it's time for a fresh start. Where exactly am I supposed to go? Lucia shrugged. That's not really my problem. You're a grown woman, Sierra. Figure it out. Right. And I suppose you'll be keeping my apartment? Our apartment. Legally, it's mine now. Because you manipulated Dad into transferring it. I didn't manipulate anyone. Dad offered, and I accepted. That's how the real world works. I looked at my sister. Really looked at her. The designer dress, the expensive wine, the complete lack of remorse in her eyes. You know what, Lucia, you're right. It is time for a fresh start. Good. I'm glad you're being reasonable about this. Oh, I'm being very reasonable. The next morning, I found an envelope slipped under my bedroom door. My name was written on it in Mom's handwriting, shaky but unmistakably hers. Inside was a single piece of paper with an address, a phone number, and a password written in Mom's careful script. Trust in Sierra 2024. At the bottom, she'd written, Call Reagan. Tell her it's time. I love you, sweetheart. Make them pay. My hands were shaking as I reached for my phone. Reagan answered on the first ring. Sierra? How are you holding up? I found something. A note from Mom. She left me a password. There was a long pause. What's the password, dear? Trust in Sierra 2024. Oh. Reagan's voice changed completely. Oh, Sierra. We need to meet. Today. Can you get away from the house? Why? What's going on? Your mother was a very smart woman, and she loved you more than you know. I met Reagan at a coffee shop across town, clutching Mom's note like a lifeline. She was already there, sitting in a corner booth with a briefcase and a look I'd never seen before. Part lawyer, part conspirator. Sit down, Sierra. We have a lot to discuss. I slid into the booth. Reagan, what's going on? What did Mom do? She opened her briefcase and pulled out a thick folder. Your mother came to see me 6 months ago. She was very concerned about your situation and your family's behavior. What kind of behavior? The manipulation, the financial exploitation, the way they were systematically isolating you and taking your assets. Reagan leaned forward. Your mother wasn't as confused as everyone thought. She was watching, documenting, planning. She opened the folder and spread documents across the table. This is the Caledonia Trust, established in your name only. Your mother transferred the majority of her liquid assets into it over the past 4 months. I stared at the papers. How much money are we talking about? $850,000. The coffee shop noise faded to nothing. What? Your grandmother's inheritance, your mother's savings, the life insurance policy she increased, several investment accounts your father doesn't know about. Reagan pointed to different documents, all of it legally yours, completely outside of probate. But Dad said there were debts. There are debts, significant ones, but not medical debts. Reagan's smile was sharp. Your mother took out a substantial loan against the house 6 months ago. She also put liens against your apartment, the one now in Lucia's name. I don't understand. Your mother borrowed money using the house and apartment as collateral. Then she transferred that money into your trust. The debt stays with the properties. My head was spinning. So the house is underwater. Your father owes more than it's worth. And your apartment? Lucia just inherited a property with a lien that's larger than its value. How is that legal? Completely legal. Your mother was very thorough. She had me research every option. Reagan pulled out another document. She also documented every conversation, every manipulation, every time your family took advantage of you. She showed me a thick notebook in a Mom's handwriting, pages and pages of dates, conversations, financial transactions. March the 15th, Benson pressured Sierra to quit job, claimed financial hardship while booking cruise. March 22nd, Lucia posted Instagram story mocking Sierra's servant role. April 3rd, found property transfer documents Benson forged Sierra's signature on. She was building a case, Reagan explained, not for court, but for this moment. She wanted you to understand exactly what they did to you. I flipped through the pages, seeing my life through Mom's eyes. Every slight, every manipulation, every cruel comment carefully recorded. "There's more," Reagan said quietly. "Your mother left you a video message. She recorded it the day before she died." She pulled out a tablet and pressed play. Mom's face appeared on screen, looking directly into the camera. She was wearing the cardigan I'd helped her button that last morning. "Hello, sweetheart. If you're watching this, then I'm gone, and Reagan has given you the password." Mom's voice was clear, stronger than it had been in months. "I want you to know that everything I did because I love you." Tears started flowing before I could stop them. "I watched them destroy your life piece by piece, and I couldn't stand it anymore. Your father, who I loved for 35 years, became someone I didn't recognize. And Lucia—" Mom's face hardened. "Lucia became cruel, entitled, everything I never wanted my daughters to be." She leaned closer to the camera. "You sacrificed everything for me, Sierra. Your career, your home, your independence. You did it because you love me and because you're good. But goodness doesn't mean you have to be a victim." The video continued for 10 more minutes. Mom explaining every detail of the trust, every legal maneuver, every way she protected me. "Use this money to rebuild your life," she said at the end. "Travel, go back to school, start a business, whatever makes you happy. And don't feel guilty about what happens to them. They made their choices. Now, they get to live with the consequences." The video ended. I sat in silence, staring at the blank screen. "There's one more thing," Reagan said softly. "The liens on the properties, they're callable, meaning you can demand immediate payment at any time. What happens if they can't pay? Now, foreclosure. The properties get sold to satisfy the debt." My phone buzzed. A text from Lucia. "Dad and I are meeting with the realtor tomorrow about selling the house. Thought you should know since you'll need to find somewhere else to live soon." I showed Reagan the message. "Well," she said, "that's convenient timing." "What do you mean?" "Your father can't sell the house. Not with the lien against it. Any buyer would discover the debt during the title search." Reagan gathered the documents. "In fact, I think it's time we called in that lien." "Now? Why wait? Your family clearly has no intention of treating you fairly." I thought about Lucia's party in my apartment, about Dad's fake tears over debts, about being called a failure and a burden. Do it. Reagan pulled out her phone. "I'll need a few hours to file the paperwork. By tomorrow morning, your father and sister are going to get a very unpleasant surprise." "What kind of surprise?" "The kind where they discover they don't own what they think they own." Reagan's smile was predatory. "And that the daughter they've been treating like garbage holds all the cards." My phone rang. "Owen." "I should take this," I told Reagan. "Sierra, thank God. I've been worried sick. How are you holding up?" "Better than expected, actually, much better." "Really? You sound different." I looked at the trust documents, at Mom's notebook, at the video still frozen on Reagan's tablet. "I am different. Owen, can you meet me tonight? I have a lot to tell you." "Of course. Whatever you need." After I hung up, Reagan was watching me with approval. "Your mother would be proud," she said. "I hope so. Trust me, she would be. She spent her last months making sure you'd never be powerless again." I picked up Mom's notebook, running my fingers over her careful handwriting. "When will they find out?" "Tomorrow morning. The sheriff will serve the papers personally." "Good." I closed the notebook. "I want to be there when it happens." I was making coffee the next morning when the doorbell rang. Dad was still in his bathrobe, shuffling around the kitchen like he owned the world. "I'll get it," he said, heading for the front door. I stayed in the kitchen, listening. "Benson Morrison?" "Yes." "Sheriff's Department. I have legal documents for you and Lucia Morrison." "What kind of documents?" "Lien enforcement and foreclosure notices. Is Lucia Morrison present?" Dad's voice went up an octave. Foreclosure. There must be some mistake. No mistake, sir. Are you going to accept service? Sierra. Dad's voice cracked across the house. Sierra, get out here. I took my time walking to the front door. Dad stood there in his bathrobe, holding official-looking papers, his face white as paper. What is this? He demanded, waving the documents at me. I have no idea. What do they say? The sheriff, a middle-aged woman with kind eyes, looked between us. Ma'am, are you Sierra Morrison? Yes. These documents concern properties that have liens registered in your name. The homeowners are being notified that payment is due immediately. Dad's hands were shaking as he read. This says we owe $800,000 on the house. That's impossible. Is Lucia Morrison available? The sheriff asked. She's upstairs, I said. Lucia, someone's here for you. Lucia appeared at the top of the stairs in silk pajamas, her hair perfectly styled even first thing in the morning. What's all the shouting about? Ma'am, I need you to sign for these documents. Lucia came downstairs looking annoyed. What documents? The sheriff handed her a separate set of papers. Lien enforcement notice for the property at 428 Maple Street, apartment 3B. That's my apartment, Lucia said, taking the papers. What's a lien? It means someone has a legal claim against your property for money owed, the sheriff explained patiently. Lucia's face went from annoyed to confused to panicked as she read. This says I owe $600,000? That's insane. I just got this apartment. The lien was placed against the property before the transfer, the sheriff said. New ownership doesn't eliminate existing debt. Dad was still staring at his papers. Sierra, did you know about this? Know about what? These liens. They're in your name. My name? The sheriff nodded. According to county records, Sierra Morrison is the lien holder on both properties. Lucia's voice went shrill. Sierra, what did you do? I didn't do anything. This is your fault somehow, isn't it? You're trying to sabotage us. Dad was frantically flipping through pages. It says here the original loan was taken out by Claire Morrison 6 months ago. Your mother did this. Mom's dead, Lucia snapped. Dead people can't collect debts. But their estates can, the sheriff said, and according to these documents, the debt was transferred to Sierra Morrison before the borrower's death. I looked at the papers in Dad's trembling hands. What happens if you can't pay? Foreclosure proceedings begin immediately, the sheriff said. Both properties will be sold to satisfy the debt. Sold? Lucia's voice cracked. They can't sell my apartment. Ma'am, if you can't pay the lien amount, they absolutely can. After the sheriff left, Dad and Lucia sat at the kitchen table in stunned silence. I poured myself another cup of coffee and sat across from them. This is a mistake, Dad said finally. Your mother wouldn't have done this, wouldn't she? Sierra, you have to fix this, Lucia said. Call whoever you need to call. This is insane. I don't know how to fix it. You're the lien holder. Dad's voice was getting desperate. You can forgive the debt. Can I? Of course you can. You're family. I sipped my coffee. Family, right. Lucia's phone rang. She answered it frantically. Taylor? Did you see the news? What news? Her face went white. What do you mean it's online? She hung up and immediately started typing on her phone. Oh, God. Oh, no, no, no. What? It's on the county website, public records. Anyone can see that my apartment has a lien against it. She kept scrolling. And there are real estate blogs picking it up. Local artist inherits massive debt. Dad grabbed his own phone. The house, too. It's all public record. This will ruin me, Lucia whispered. My reputation, my art career, everything. Maybe you should have thought about that before you stole my apartment, I said quietly. I didn't steal anything. No? What would you call it? Dad slammed his hand on the table. Enough! Sierra, you need to call Reagan right now and fix this. Why would I do that? Because we're family. Are we? Because yesterday you were kicking me out of the house. Lucia was throwing parties in my apartment and calling me a failure. That was different. How was it different? Lucia's phone rang again. She looked at the caller ID and her face crumpled. It's my gallery, the one where I'm supposed to have my show next week. She answered with a fake bright voice. Hi, Marcus, how are you? Her face fell. What do you mean you're reconsidering? I don't understand. She listened for a moment, then hung up. They canceled my show, she said in a small voice. They said they can't be associated with someone who has financial irregularities. This is all your fault. Dad pointed at me. You did this somehow. I didn't do anything. Then fix it. Why should I? Because I'm your father. The father who manipulated me into giving up my career, who forged my signature on legal documents, who was planning to kick me out of the house the day after Mom's funeral. Dad's mouth opened and closed like a fish. My phone buzzed. A text from Owen. Saw the news online. Holy shit. Are you okay? I typed back, never better. Sierra, please, Lucia said, and for the first time in years, she sounded genuinely desperate. I'm sorry about what I said yesterday. I was grieving. I wasn't thinking clearly. You weren't grieving. You were celebrating. That's not true. You said you were glad Mom was finally dead. Dad's head snapped up. You said what? Lucia's face went red. I didn't mean it like that. How did you mean it? I was overwhelmed. I said things I didn't mean. Like calling me a failure, like saying I was playing nursemaid, like planning to evict me. Sierra, no. I stood up. I'm done. You want to fix this? Figure it out yourselves. Where are you going? Dad demanded. Out. I have things to do. What things? I smiled. Family business. As I walked toward the door, Lucia called after me. Sierra, wait. We can work something out. Maybe we can share the apartment, or... I turned back. Share? Like how you shared taking care of Mom? Like how you shared the sacrifice? Please, $800,000 for the house, $600,000 for the apartment. Cash only. You have 30 days. I left them sitting at the kitchen table staring at papers they couldn't understand, drowning in debt they couldn't escape. Outside, I called Reagan. How did it go? She asked. Perfectly. They have no idea what hit them. And how do you feel? I looked back at the house where I spent the worst months of my life, where I'd been manipulated and used and discarded. Free, I said. I feel free. 3 days later, I walked into First National Bank wearing Mom's favorite dress, the blue one she'd saved for special occasions. The trust documents were in my purse, along with the first disbursement check for $50,000. The bank manager, a woman named Patricia, reviewed everything twice before looking up at me with something like awe. This is quite substantial, Ms. Morrison. Are you sure you want to cash the full amount today? I'm sure. She processed the transaction while I sat in her office, watching people through the glass walls going about their normal lives. None of them knew that 3 days ago I'd been broke and homeless. Now I had more money than I'd ever dreamed of. Here you are, Patricia said, sliding the cashier's check across her desk. Will you be opening additional accounts with us? Not today, but I'll be back. I was walking to my car when my phone rang. Lucia. Sierra, thank God. We need to talk. I'm listening. Not over the phone. Can you meet me somewhere? Where? The coffee shop on 5th Street. Please. It's important. 20 minutes later, I found Lucia in a corner booth, looking like she hadn't slept in days. Her perfect Instagram makeup was gone, replaced by dark circles and red-rimmed eyes. You look terrible, I said, sliding into the seat across from her. Thanks. That's really what I needed to hear right now. What do you want, Lucia? She leaned forward, her voice desperate. I want to make a deal. What kind of deal? I'll give you back the apartment. Full ownership, no questions asked. In exchange, you forgive the lien. I sip my coffee. Interesting. What's the catch? No catch. I can't handle this. The stress, the public humiliation, the financial pressure. Taylor broke up with me yesterday. Taylor broke up with you? He said he couldn't be with someone who was financially toxic. His exact words. Her voice cracked. He took back all the gifts he'd given me, even the jewelry. I'm sorry to hear that. Are you? Really? Actually, no. I'm not sorry at all. Lucia's face flushed. Fine. I deserve that. But Sierra, I'm drowning here. The apartment is worthless to me if I can't afford to keep it. Then you should have thought about that before you took it. I know I screwed up. But we're sisters. Family has to mean something. Family. I set down my coffee cup. You want to talk about family? Let's talk about family. Sierra, let's talk about how you called me a failure. How you mocked me for taking care of our dying mother. How you threw parties in my apartment while I was cleaning up Mom's vomit. I was wrong. Let's talk about how you and Dad planned to kick me out the day after the funeral. How you never once asked if I was okay, if I needed help, if I was struggling. Lucia was crying now, mascara running down her cheeks. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. Sorry doesn't fix anything. Then what do you want? Money? I don't have any, but I could get a job. I don't want your money, Lucia. I have plenty of money. Her eyes widened. What do you mean? I mean Mom left me everything. The real everything, not the debt-ridden properties you and Dad thought were so valuable. That's impossible. I pulled out my phone and showed her a photo of the cashier's check. $50,000. And that's just the first withdrawal. Lucia stared at the screen. How much did she leave you? Enough. Sierra, if you have money, then you can afford to help us. You can pay off the liens. Why would I do that? Because we're family. No, Lucia. You made it very clear that we're not family. Family doesn't steal from each other. Family doesn't abandon each other. Family doesn't mock each other's pain. I stood up to leave. Wait! Lucia grabbed my arm. Please. I'll do anything. I'll apologize publicly. I'll make it up to you somehow. There's nothing you can do. Sierra, please. Dad's talking about declaring bankruptcy. The house is going into foreclosure. I'm going to lose everything. Good. The word hung in the air between us. Lucia's face went white. You really hate us, don't you? I don't hate you, Lucia. I just don't care about you anymore. That's worse. Is it? Because caring about you nearly destroyed me. Caring about this family cost me everything I'd worked for. So no, I don't care what happens to you now. I walked toward the door, but Lucia's voice stopped me. Mom would be ashamed of you. I turned back. Mom planned this. Every bit of it. She watched you treat me like garbage for months, and she decided you deserved exactly what you're getting. You're lying. Am I? Ask Reagan. Ask her about the notebook Mom kept, documenting every cruel thing you said, every manipulation Dad pulled. Ask her about the video message Mom left me, explaining exactly why she did this. Lucia's face crumpled. She really planned this? She loved me enough to make sure I'd never be powerless again. And she was disgusted enough with you and Dad to make sure you'd pay for what you did. I left Lucia crying in the coffee shop and drove to Owen's apartment. He opened the door before I could knock. I saw the news, he said, pulling me into a hug. Holy shit, Sierra. Your mom was a genius. She was something. How are you feeling? Honestly? Incredible. And also terrible. And also confused. Owen led me to his couch. Talk to me. I just told my sister I don't care if she loses everything. And I meant it. Good. Is it good? What kind of person does that make me? The kind of person who finally learned to protect herself. My phone buzzed. A text from Dad. Sierra, we need to talk. This has gone far enough. I showed Owen the message. Are you going to respond? Not today. Maybe not ever. And how does that feel? I looked at the cashier's check in my purse, thought about the trust fund that would support me for the rest of my life, remembered Mom's voice on that video telling me I deserved to be happy. It feels like freedom. The foreclosure auction was held on a crisp October morning. I sat in my car across the street, watching strangers walk through the house where I'd spent the worst months of my life. Dad stood on the front porch, looking older than his 62 years. Lucia wasn't there. She'd moved back in with him after losing the apartment, but apparently couldn't face watching their world crumble in public. My phone rang. Reagan. Are you really sitting outside watching this? Maybe. Sierra, you don't need to torture yourself. I'm not torturing myself. I'm saying goodbye. The auctioneer's voice carried across the street as he described the property. Beautiful 4-bedroom colonial. Needs some updating, but solid bones. He didn't mention the liens, the debt, the family that had imploded within these walls. The apartment sold yesterday, Reagan said. Lucia signed the papers this morning. How much? Enough to cover the lien and leave her with about $15,000. She's moving to Portland, apparently, going to start fresh. Good for her. Your father called my office again. He wants to contest your mother's will. Can he? He can try. But your mother was very thorough. The trust is ironclad, and we have documentation of everything he and Lucia did. Any judge would see this as a mother protecting her daughter from financial abuse. Through the windshield, I watched Dad shake hands with the auctioneer. The house had sold. Whatever he got after paying off the lien wouldn't be much. Sierra, are you still there? I'm here. There's something else. Your father asked me to give you a message. What message? He said to tell you he's sorry and that he loves you. I watched Dad walk to his car, shoulders slumped in defeat. For a moment, I felt something that might have been pity. Did he say anything else? He asked if there was any way to fix this, any way to make things right between you. What did you tell him? I told him that was up to you. After hanging up, I sat in the car for another hour, watching the new owners measure windows and discuss paint colors. They looked happy, excited about their fresh start. My phone buzzed with a text from Owen. Dinner tonight? I'm cooking. Can't. I have somewhere to be. Where? I'll tell you later. I drove across town to Greenwood Cemetery, where Mom was buried under a simple headstone that read, Beloved Mother. I'd chosen the inscription myself, ignoring Dad's suggestion to add wife to it. The flowers I'd left last week were wilted. I replaced them with fresh ones, white roses, Mom's favorite. Hey, Mom, I said, settling cross-legged on the grass. The house sold today. Dad looked broken. A breeze rustled the leaves above me. I keep waiting to feel guilty about it, about what happened to them. But I don't. Is that wrong? I pulled out my phone and showed the headstone a photo. I bought a condo downtown, 2 bedrooms, huge windows, a view of the river. I'm going to turn the second bedroom into an office and start freelancing again. The wind picked up, scattering a few rose petals. Owen thinks I should travel first, see Europe, maybe Asia. He says I've earned it. I laughed. Can you imagine? Me, backpacking through Italy? But maybe I will. Maybe I'll do all the things I never thought I could afford. My phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Sierra? It's Lucia. I almost hung up. What do you want? I'm at the airport. My flight to Portland leaves in an hour. Congratulations. I wanted to say goodbye. And I wanted to apologize. Really apologize. Not just because I need something from you. Okay. I was awful to you. Cruel and selfish and just awful. You didn't deserve any of it. No, I didn't. I keep thinking about what you said, about Mom planning this, about her being disgusted with me. Lucia, no, let me finish. You were right. I was disgusting. The way I treated you, the things I said. I'm ashamed of who I became. I picked at the grass beside Mom's headstone. Why are you telling me this? Because I need you to know that I know. I know what I did was unforgivable. I know I destroyed our relationship. I know I hurt you in ways that can't be fixed. And I'm not asking for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I just wanted you to know that I'm sorry and that I hope someday you can be happy again. The line went quiet except for airport announcements in the background. Lucia? Yeah? I am happy. For the first time in years, I'm actually happy. Good. That's good. Take care of yourself. You too, Sierra. You too. After she hung up, I sat in the cemetery until the sun started setting. Other visitors came and went. Families with children, elderly couples, people carrying flowers and memories. I should go, I told Mom's headstone. Owen's making dinner, and I promised I'd tell him about my day. I stood up, brushing grass off my jeans. Thank you, I said quietly, for everything, for seeing what they were doing to me, for protecting me, for loving me enough to fight back. The roses swayed in the evening breeze. I'm going to be okay, Mom. Better than okay. I'm going to be happy. I walked back to my car, where my phone was buzzing with messages. Owen asking about dinner. My former boss asking if I was interested in consulting work. A travel agent I'd contacted about European tours. All the possibilities I thought were lost forever, suddenly within reach again. I drove home, to my new home, my real home, the one no one could take away from me, and for the first time in months, I felt like myself again. The girl who'd walked into that family meeting had been broken, manipulated, powerless. The woman driving through the city tonight was none of those things, and she never would be again.